Everybody hear me okay? Just throw it in the chat there. We have another few more minutes before we let everybody in. Just let me know if everything's good on your end, if you can see the webinar and everything. You. Maybe another 2 more minutes before we get started. We'll let more people come in here. Thanks you guys for showing up though. It's really good. A lot of information that's going to be in here, so that's good. Yeah, and everybody that's coming in, welcome to the first time home buyers class. Let me know in the chat if you've just showed up, if you can hear everything, see everything okay. So another minute or so to go, but everybody coming in, just utilize the chat if you need, ask questions. I'll be able to answer them as I go along. We'll try and get through this. There's about 45 good minutes of content to get through. So the more personalized the questions are, the more we just suggest you book a call with us to answer those. But if they're more generalized, we can try and answer them as we go along. And at the end of this, there's also a Q&A. So we can also address a lot of questions there. I know a lot of times things come up and things happen. So if you have to jump out, that's okay. At the end of this, there will be a recording. So if you ever have to jump out for whatever and you feel you missed something, you can always reach out to me and I can get you that link. So we're right at 7 o'clock here. So far, there's still people filing in. So we'll give it a little bit more here, but yeah, just utilize the chat if you need to ask questions. Feel free. We'll answer what we can as we go. And again, for everybody that just showing up now, welcome. Thanks for showing up. A lot of good information coming at you. So we'll give it another minute or two here before we get rolling in this. I will put in the chat just right now. This is the booking link. So if you have a personalized question or at the end you want to talk more about this, feel free. That has my calendar on there, so it's easy to pick a time and we can discuss things more. But I'll be putting that in the chat as we go along just to make things more easier. So there's quite a few of us in here now, so we'll get another minute. I see there's still some more coming in, so just give it a minute. Okay, I think that's starting to slow down now. So, okay, let's get started here. So welcome everybody to the first time home buyers class. So I put this on just to help people kind of get familiarized with the home buying process. So again, I like to utilize the chat a lot. So if you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to throw it out there. This is recorded and it will be available to rewatch later on. So if you feel you missed something or have to jump out, it will be there at the end. There's also a Q&A at the end of this. So just to get started right away, let's just see, just out of show, Does any of you feel this? Now, I know buying a home for a lot of people, majority of the people, actually buying a home is one of the most expensive purchases they're going to make in their life. So it's, you know, it's pretty normal to feel this way. So if anybody's feeling this, my goal is by the end of this to alleviate all the stresses and make it easy and seamless transaction. That is my goal. That's what I'm here for. So let me know in the chat if any of this feels that way. And I'm going to do my best to do what I can to fix that, because it's quite the process these days. It can be quite overwhelming. So okay, let's get into this a little bit. A couple of reviews of me, just so you know. The first one in green is one of my first deals I did when I started in real estate. I helped an older couple get out of their house because it was just too much for them. So I helped them move into something more appropriate for them that would give them the care they need. And the one on the bottom, same idea. It was her mom getting out of a mobile home into something, again, more friendly, more closer to the hospital to help with her health. So those are just a couple of things, just some people I've helped along the way. So a little bit about me. I am Andy Goddard. I started in real estate about May of last year with Royal LePage Hallmark. Helped some buyers and sellers with them, then decided by January of 2022 to switch to eXp Realty, which is one of the fastest and largest growing brokerage across the world. So with that comes a lot of help, a lot of contacts, a lot of everything. So it's been great so far. I've helped many satisfied buyers and sellers. I do work in the Saskatoon area. That is my main area, Saskatoon and surrounding areas. I do live in Warman. I live out here with my wife, my son, my daughter, and my 2 dogs. So sometime during this webinar, you may hear them running around upstairs because the one's 2 years old and he's pretty crazy. So we love it out here. We moved here in 2016. We came from Alberta, where that was my first dealing with real estate, where I bought and sold my first house. And honestly, it was a disaster. My real estate agents I had simply just weren't the best. So I took their mistakes and I'm putting it into my business to make sure I do not replicate those mistakes. So I'm going to put it again in the chat here. One link is going to be my link tree, which has everything about me. So if you go to that Linktree link, it has everything about me. It has my business sites, all my YouTube, my TikTok, my Facebook, everything, and even my personal stuff too. So you know exactly who it is you're talking with. I'm transparent as possible. I don't hide anything. That's who I am. So you can check me out there, follow me. I'll have some funny videos, some real estate stuff, all that. So also there's a booking link I put in there. So if you want to book a call with me, have a one-on-one chat, discuss more of this, that is there as well. So again, enough about me. Let's kind of get into the process. So steps of home ownership. I'll just kind of do a quick brief summary of what it takes to buy your first house. So number one is learn all you can about it. I wish I had one of these when I went to buy my first house, because there was a lot of stuff I would have missed. So this is a great step. Again, thanks everybody for showing up. There is a lot of us in here, so that is a good thing to know. So very first thing I say when somebody says, Andy, I'm ready to buy a house, what do? I ask them, are you pre-approved? We need to see if you're able to even get a house. That is first steps. So that being said, I am teamed up with a fantastic mortgage broker. Her name is Robin Kraft. She is here with us. If you have any financial questions, please put it in the chat. She'll be able to answer it as we go along. And yeah, so if you haven't started the mortgage approval process, definitely reach out to us, use the booking link. We'll get you set up and she'll let you know how things are going. But yes, feel free to ask questions as we go. So anyways, we get started, we get the mortgage approval process. If Robin says, you know, you guys are good, you're great, you can go ahead and start shopping for houses. That's perfect. You come back to me and I sit down with you and either we do a Zoom call, a phone call. I prefer myself to meet in person. That way we get everything settled that way. It's more personal, but we discuss what it is you need in a home, what you're looking for. Is it an actual house? Do you need a condo? You need a townhouse? What is it you want? How many bedrooms are you going to need? Bathrooms, all that kind of stuff. We sit down and make sure that you're going to be covered with everything you need. Once we have that figured out, then we just jump straight to the MLS right away, because that's pretty standard. Start looking to see what's out there. Send you a bunch of listings, see what we can find. And if we're having issues finding kind of the right fit for you, that's fine. I will jump into off-market properties, see if there's any for sale by owners that are willing to sell, work with us kind of thing, if it's a perfect fit. Even if we find a place that is being rented, they're trying to find new tenants and it's a perfect fit for you, I will reach out to them and ask if they would be interested in selling instead of trying to rent it out, because it would be a perfect fit for you. So that's kind of the things that I do offer. I work for you. That is the idea of me, is I work for you as a real estate agent to make sure it's perfect for you. So that's what I would do for you. So let's say we find a place that's perfect, you love it, we look inside, have a walk through and decide we're going to put an offer in, then we go back, that's where I come in and we start negotiating on price. Once we get that set and we set a price that's reasonable for everybody, then we go into what's called a condition period. So usually that's about 2 weeks, which gives our mortgage broker time to get the financing finalized, because now we have a price. Now we know how much it is that you are going to be needing to borrow. And it gives us time to make sure the house is in good order before we decide we actually want this. So we put things in there like a home inspection. If it's a condo, we put in for the Schedule C estoppel package, which I will get into later in this, but it tells us everything about the condo. And then once you are satisfied with what you see and you're feel the house is still good to go, what we do is we finally lift conditions and it's now sold to you. We just wait on possession day. So as we're waiting, we will finalize stuff with the lawyers, get title transferred over, finalize with the mortgage, get all the financing in place. And then once we get to possession date, I meet up with the other realtor, we get keys, and I meet you at your home. We'll go do a little walkthrough, make sure you're happy, things are satisfied, take some pictures, all that good stuff. And then I'm out and you guys are now in your first home. So that is kind of the home buying process in a very condensed version. If you want more than that, again, book a call with me or wait until the Q&A session after, we can go over some more of that. But during that whole process, any issues that arise, that is my job to take care of and make this a smooth process. So that's kind of how this is. The nice thing about buying with a realtor and using a mortgage broker is that you do not pay us fees for this. So you're already buying an expensive place. You don't have to pay us for fees. That is a beautiful part of this. So just keep that in mind as well. So again, we're going to get into this. As I said before, I am teamed up with a great mortgage broker. Her name's Robin. The first part of this is a lot to do with the financing side of things. So if you have any questions, throw it in the chat, let us know, and she'll be able to answer this as we go. And then the other half is more to the real estate side of things. So does anybody have any questions before going forward with this? Feel free to throw it in the chat and I will make sure to put the booking link back in as well. Okay, so first part, that mistakes that people sometimes can happen is ignoring the first-time homebuyer incentive program. So this is to help out first-time home buyers. This is a product from the government of Canada. Now, this is a little dated of a number. It's probably from 2019 now, so it's probably more than that, but that's just kind of a general idea. They've used about $1.25 billion in helping first-time home buyers. So what it is this is a shared equity mortgage. So basically the government is investing in your property. They're hoping that it, like everybody, that your value of your property goes up. So it has shares in both the upside and the downside of your property. So there's no interest on the money they're going to give you, which I'll touch in a bit. There's no payments you have to make on it, and it's repayable at any time without a prepayment penalty. So basically what they do is along with your down payment, they're going to give you an additional 5% on resale homes. Now, because the majority of first-time home buyers deal with resale previously used homes, that's what I touch base on. But if you go to buy a brand new home, they can go up to 10% extra as well. But again, I don't touch a whole lot on new builds with this because very, very few actually go that way. But that's just an idea. And we'll touch more on down payments and things like that as you go. So who is eligible for this incentive? Well, any Canadian citizens, permanent residents, and non-permanent residents who are legally authorized to work in Canada can get this. At least if you're in with your partner, at least one of you cannot have owned a home in Canada before. So one of you at least has to be a first-time homeowner. If you're going in with your spouse, your combined income annually cannot exceed $120,000 because the government feels if you make over $120,000 a year combined, you don't need their help. Fair enough. The combined insured mortgage and incentive amount cannot exceed 4 times the total qualified annual income. So you just can't exceed 4 times what you make in a year. And the maximum down payment that they're going to give you cannot exceed 20%. So elaborate on that. If you're given a down payment of less than 20%, you're going to have to pay some mortgage insurance premiums. Now at 5%, that's the lowest, so it's going to be a little higher. So basically, this isn't going to give you an out to get out of paying that. So if you have a 20% down payment or above, you don't have to pay those insurance premiums. This program will not help you get out of paying those. So if you put in a 15% down payment plus want this, they're only going to give you 4.9%. It's just up to 19.9% is what they're what the plan is. So that's kind of the idea with that. There is another program to help with a down payment, and it's an RSP plan. So you can use your RSPs up to withdraw about $35,000 per person. So if you go in with your spouse, you both have RSPs, you can both take out up to $70,000. So they're not exclusive. You can use this plus the incentive, and you can use them together. They both qualify as a first-time home buyer plan. The difference between this RSP plan and the incentive program is you can pay back into your RSPs in chunks. So you don't have to pay it all back at once. You can pay it in little installments. The only thing is you just have to pay it back within the first 2 years of using these for a down payment. And the funds for these RSPs have to have been in the account for at least 90 days. So it's just things like that to watch out for that. But that's just an RSP plan. You can use those for down payments. So just an FYI for everybody. So anyways, so how does this work for paying off the incentive? Now, as I mentioned before, the RSPs you can pay back in chunks. This you have to pay all in once, and I'll explain why in a little bit. So you pay it off either if you sell the home, you'll have to pay them back their percentage that they've given you. You can pay it off anytime in the first 25 years of your mortgage by either one big lump sum or by refinancing your mortgage. Or let's say you make it all the way to the end of your 25-year term, well, then you're gonna have to pay it back at the end of the term, again, by one lump sum or a small equity loan. So those are the three ways to pay this off, but it all has to be in basically one chunk at one time. And I'll get into the reason why. So this is how it works when I said before that it's a shared investment, right? They're investing their money into you. They want to see it grow. So I like to use $400,000 because it's easy math. 5% down payment of a $400,000 house is $20,000. So we're going to go with that. So you put in 5%, they're going to match that another 5%. So they're going to put $20,000 of investment into your home. They're going to hope to see it grow. So if, let's say in a few years, your home is now valued at $500,000, their 5% has now become $25,000. So that 5% is going to be based on the value of your home whenever you decide to pay it off. So if it's valued at $500,000, you're going to have to pay them a little bit more back because they invested into you, right? But the other side is if your home now values less, let's say $300,000, you only have to pay back $15,000 of that $20,000 they gave you. But we're not going to want to see your home decrease in value. That's not the whole point of this, but it just goes both ways, just so you have an idea. They're going to want their investment back and they're going to want to see it grow. That's the whole point of this. Now, some people might be thinking, what's the value in this? Why, you know, if they're going to give us money, but we have to pay it back and it could be more, what's the value in it? So here's just a little example of why it would be more valuable for you. So let's say we want to go buy a home, again, $400,000. Your minimum down payment is 20%. So you're going to put in $20,000. So you're going to have to borrow $380,000 for a mortgage. Now, as they chip in some money for you, they're going to give you another 5%, which increases your down payment to 10%, which would be $40,000. Now you're going to be borrowing less from the bank. You're going to be borrowing $360,000. So right away, right off the bat, they're basically helping you with lower monthly payments. That's their goal, is just to get you rolling in this home, your first home, and have less payments per month, right? And as I talked before about insurance premiums, so when you put a 5% down payment, that's the lowest that you're going to be paying, right? That's the minimum amount. So your insurance premium is going to be an all-time high. With them kicking in another 5%, that's 10% of a down payment. Well, now those insurance premiums drastically drop. And so the more you put down, the less and less they're going to cost you, up until 20% where you don't have to pay any. So there's where the benefit lies in this. You're getting more of a down payment, which brings insurance premiums less, and you're borrowing less for a mortgage. So right off the bat, your payments per month are going to be cheaper. That's where the benefit is. That's just to help first-time home buyers get rolling with cheaper payments, and then eventually have to deal with paying that amount back. But at least it gets you rolling with less payments. That's where the benefit lies. So again, I see there is a question, but is there any other questions on this first time home buyers plan? That's a good question. I don't know, maybe Robin can follow up on that. I'm not sure how that works. I believe if you pass away, it would just come out of the proceeds of the home sale if they decide to sell it, or if they pass the house on to the kids, I assume they would have to take it over. Some way they're gonna have to get that back at some point. So that's just things to watch out for. And I did find out too, with this incentive plan, you don't have to have it before the conditional period of buying a home. Like maybe you think that it's going to take a lot of time to get this. This can be applied after conditions are closed and you've already gotten into the home with a mortgage. This can be applied after and it can be adjusted. So there's no need to get it rushed and get onto that right away. It gives you a chance to think about it if that's something you really want to go forward with. So just some things on that. But if there's no other questions on the incentive, then we're going to jump into the mortgage approval process and what that kind of looks like. So the valuation would be done as you, the valuation of the incentive would be based on when you decide you want to pay it back. So if you're ready to pay it back, you would just, I believe you would just reach out to them and they would, we'd go off the basic value at that time, but that's something we can dig into a little bit more to specify that. The maximum percentage of the down payment, honestly, it's whatever you want. You could, you know, whatever you have, there really is no maximum down payment. You could put, 50 to 75% of a down payment you want. It's entirely up to you. There is no limit. The only limit is the minimum down payment you have to have. Yeah, it is. It's just, it depends on also how much the value of the home is. Right, if it's over 500,000, I know Robin and I talked about this, and it can go up to 10%, but we can, Robin might be able to explain more of that about the percentages for down payments. She'll be able to walk you through that. And yes, we actually talked about that too, about the depreciation. At one time, we thought that they were going to give you, let's say, $20,000. We at one time thought that you weren't going to pay less than 20,000, like that was it. They're going to get their money back or more. They're not going to take less. But we dug into it a little bit more, and honestly, yes, they would take less even if your home value fell. So that's why, again, it's an investment. So they're hoping that it grows, but they can take a loss. But right there, you just gotta, we're hoping that your value doesn't go down, because that's not the point. We don't want to see your home value depreciate. We want to see it increase. So just some things to watch out for. It is crazy to think that the government is actually going to take less money, but yeah, sometimes it just happens, which is kind of funny some days. But yeah, we don't want to see that happen though. We don't want to see depreciation. So but yeah, so we'll get into the mortgage process here. Let's so again, mistake number 2, not getting pre-approval. Now this is kind of, I say almost just kind of a no-brainer here, but in order to start looking at a home, we need to have pre-approval. Now it's really hard. We're not going to go start shopping around without that, because honestly, just to put it bluntly, it is a waste of a lot of people's time. It's basically the seller's time, because they're going to have to leave the house for a showing. Our time by actually going there and looking at it, right? It's just, if we're going to be looking at a home and not even sure if we can buy it, honestly, it's just a waste of time. But this is a big thing. Some people just don't know that, and that's what I'm here for. So not getting a pre-approval is a big thing. So we want to get that pre-approval. We want to know how much it is that we're able to shop for. Okay, so there's 3 things for a pre-approval that they're going to look for. First thing is credit, second is income, and third, down payment. So your credit now, Robin could probably elaborate more on this, but there are things like A mortgages and B mortgages, and A mortgages is your best mortgage, right? That's your top of the line one. And that's usually for credit scores starting at 620 is about bare minimum, but they want to see 650 and up. Now, if you have a little bit less than that, that might be okay. It'd just be something in kind of a B mortgage with possibly comes with higher interest rates. So it's just something to look out for, but that's where they're kind of hoping to see it, anywhere from 650 and above. Then they're going to look at the income. So if you don't have a salary position, if you're just hourly or however else you're paid, they're going to want 2 years worth of income statements. So tax returns, just to see what it is you make in a year, just to make sure how much you're going to be able to afford. If you have a salary position, that's even better, because you can get a letter from your employer saying that this is what you make per month. This isn't going to change unless you get a raise or something like that, right? But that's a great starting point. We don't have to look 2 years into the past to see what it is you're making. So that's a good thing to have. And then they're going to look into your down payment. Where is it coming from and how much do you have? So that can affect also how much you can borrow. So let's say you can actually be approved for $600,000, but your down payment is only $15,000. You're only going to get approved for $300,000 because that's 5% of a down payment. So your down payment will affect also how much you can get approved for. So now there is it's what's called a new to Canada program. So if you haven't been in Canada for longer than 2 years and you don't have that 2 years worth of income proof or whatever, that's okay. There's something called the new to Canada program where they can kind of avoid that. Really, one of the main thing is you just have to be at a steady job for at least 90 days. That's their big thing. But if you want to know more on that, you can also talk to us. We'll be able to let you know. And I'm going to put that in here again in the chat for everybody. If you want to know more about any of this, feel free to book a call with us. We'll be able to talk to you more about that. But those are just the 3 main things about mortgage approval. So credit, income, and down payment. And then once you get that pre-approval, then they're going to dive into the full out approval where they look into more debt and everything like that about you and make sure that you'll be covered for a lot of things. So yes, and Robin's right. There are so many different programs and there's so many things out there. Not one person is the same. So if you think you're close or you might need more information or anything, please reach out. It's free, right? Free is amazing in this time. So it's easy to find out what we could do to help you. So we'll touch more on that in a little bit here, but yeah, so once they get the pre-approval, they're going to review all your income, your credit, your down payment source, and it's going to be reliable and it's going to tell you the maximum amount that we can shop around for. So that is the biggest thing, to know exactly how much we're going to be able to shop around for. And the savings, honestly, it's hard to put a monetary value on it because it's priceless. If we're looking at homes and we find the absolute perfect one and it's going to be the best fit for your family, but we're about 50,000 too high, once we get approval, then it's just very disheartening. It's very discouraging. It's hard to get back into the process of buying because now we're just, we're sad and it's hard. So I want this to be a fun, exciting experience. So that's why this pre-approval is such a big thing. It makes a world of difference. So it's just something that we need to do before we start the buying process. So if we want to know if we're pre-approved, hit the booking link, let us know. I can get you in touch with Robin and we can help you out that way. I do have another question that has come up before when it comes to approval as well, and that is co-signers. So again, if you want more questions on co-signers, let us know. We'll talk about it. But yes, you can use a co-signer. So you can have a family member co-sign for you. There are risks, obviously, for the co-signer. So we'd have to talk to them about that. Obviously, if you aren't paying your bills, they're going to come after the co-signer to pay. But they are allowed to, you can still use a first-time home buyer program with a co-signer, right? So that's also a chance. It's just, if you use it with a co-signer, the co-signer now will not be able to use the first-time incentive as well, though. So it's just another risk for them. But they're committed to being your co-signer for as long as you can't be approved on your own. Once you're able to be approved on your own, we can go about getting them off. And the only extra cost on that is just the paperwork and the administration fees to get them off the title and the mortgage and things like that. So it'll be a few $100s here or there, but they can definitely help you with that. The only thing is they have to reside in Canada. They have to have a steady income and basically need to almost be pre-approved for a mortgage as well in order to be a co-signer for you. But again, you are able to use that. So if you want more questions on if a co-signer can help you, again, feel free, please reach out to us. We'll let you know. So does anybody have, I see there is a few, but does anybody else have any questions on pre-approval before we get going? Basically, Robin would let you know the maximum amount that you qualify for. So after she digs into your down payment source, credit, income, and all that stuff, she'll be able to tell you the max you'd be qualified for. That doesn't mean we have to shop at that max amount, right? You can be whatever you want. If you're approved for 600,000, but you only want to shop at 300,000, that's perfectly fine. It's just to give us a number so that we don't exceed that, so we might lose on places. That's the big thing about it. So, you know, it's entirely what you want to spend. It's just a number that we know that we have a limit at, if that answers the question that you were looking for. I also want to touch base, because I did kind of skip over it there. I do want to touch on down payments as well. So there are a few ways to get a down payment. I know that's one of the big issues for a lot of people, which it happens. It's fine. It is a big purchase, right? So down payments can come from a number of sources. So one, it can be from your own savings, which is a pretty common one. Two is that RRSP program, TSFAs, as Robin touched on earlier. Also, it is through a gift from a family member. This is usually where Robin rolls her eyes at me, but you can get a down payment as a gift from a family member, but you have to tell the broker that it's a gift. Between you and the family member that's giving you this gift, you can determine if you want to pay it back or not. That's between you and your family member. You can't tell the mortgage broker that you're borrowing money for a down payment, because that's just going to go against your lending power, because they're going to see as that's more debt against you. But it can be as a gift from a family member. There's another way, but this is for a select few people. The Métis Society of Canada is giving up to $15,000 for a down payment. The only catch is you have to be a part of the Métis Society. But if you are, you're able to collect up to $15,000 for a down payment. You just have to qualify for it as you would qualify for a mortgage. So it can go hand in hand. But those are the few ways that you can get a down payment. So just if anybody's wondering, that's how it is. Okay, so I'm gonna move on just a little bit more to the one last little bit of mistake of the finances side of things. I don't know if you can get it from a gift outside of Canada. That might be a gray area, as I think as long as the funds are in either Canadian American, or I think it was Great Britain, I think something like that. Those three funds, it might be okay, but maybe they still have to reside in Canada. Again, Robin might be able to touch on that one. That one I'm not too sure of. But that's a good question, though. It's good to learn these things. I like, you know, as much as I'm trying to give you guys all the information I can, it is good to learn some more things to make this better for everybody. So that's a good question. We'll see what we can do with that. Okay, so let's go with using your bank. So, little disclaimer, there's nothing wrong with using your bank. Everybody uses a bank. I do. I use RBC myself, right? We all have checkings and savings accounts, blah, 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 all that stuff. There's nothing wrong with going to your bank for a mortgage. I'm just here to explain some things to watch out for and how we help you. So and another thing too, is if you decide to go to your bank, because they do have in-house mortgage brokers, and you decide you already kind of got pre-approved with them, you can always bring that to us. We can send it over to Robin. Robin will be able to let you know if we can either match it or get a better rate for you. Sometimes though, they may have a better rate and a better program. It is what it is, right? So we're just here to at least give you all the options. But just so you're aware, these are a couple things to look out for, and this is how we're going to help you. Again, we work for you. We're going to hear for you every step of the way. That's what the main goal is to make sure this process is great for you. And so this is why. Here's a couple scenarios. These happened here during the COVID pandemic. So the lady on the left, she had her own business. That was her main source of income, was her own business. So when the pandemic hit, it took a very, very hard hit on her business to the point she had to close it down. So her main source of income now got shut down. She also had a basement suite in her house that she had a downstairs tenant renting. So she had rental income. Well, again, when the lockdowns hit, the tenant decided to leave and go live with family. So now she lost that income. She also had a room rented out for Airbnb, so short-term rentals. But again, nobody's moving, nobody's traveling, everybody's locked down. That went away as well. So in a very, very short amount of time, she lost her main source of income from her business, downstairs tenant rental income, and Airbnb income. So that was a huge hit right off the bat. So she felt she had no other option but to sell her home and get out of that debt. Now, she could have deferred mortgage payments at the time, but she just felt like she was going to get too far behind on that. So she decided she was going to sell her house to get out of it. She knew what the realtor fees were, so she had that idea in her head. But what she didn't realize on her mortgage, there was a massive pre-payout penalty, which ended up costing her $30,000 extra just to get out of her mortgage. That is insane, especially when you lose all that income coming in and you're desperate to get out of it. All right, so things to watch out for. Again, this one on the right, this family lived in Edmonton. They were involved in a lot of nonprofit organizations over in Haiti. And so when the earthquakes in Haiti hit a few years ago, they were contacted to help run an orphanage down there to kind of get things rebuilt. So they decided they were going to sell their home and use the proceeds of the home sale to fund them living there for a year or two. What they didn't realize, again, is that there is a $17,000 pre-payout penalty that they were hit with. And again, when you are relying on the proceeds of the sale of your home to fund something, that is a very devastating hit when it's that big amount of money to pay just to get out of it. Now, I'm not saying that every single mortgage is like that, but this is things that we're going to help you with. So what we do when we work together as working with a mortgage broker, we are going to be able to shop around and make sure you have little to no payout penalties. I cannot guarantee no payout penalties, like we can't guarantee that, but we're going to at least try for the lowest as possible. All right, so just because things happen in life, that's just a fact of life, is that things happen, right? You know, you upgrade a job, you want to, you know, move into something bigger, your family's growing, right? Not a lot of people stick with their very first home they buy, right? Everybody moves up and expands and things like that. So we want to give you that freedom to be able to move around and not have to worry about paying extra just to prepay your mortgage out, right? That's, things happen. Sometimes, you know, maybe a job loss, maybe you're moving somewhere, maybe you want to go back home. It's, you know, things like that, right? It's just, you know, we want to make sure this is smooth as possible. So that's the things that we can do for you. Again, I'll say it 100 times. We work for you. We're for your best interest to make sure everything you do and, you know, with this whole process is smooth and for you. So again, if you want to know more about that and anything like this, I'll throw it in again, book a call with us and we'll discuss this more in detail. But I'm going to go through a little list of pros and cons here, not really pros and cons, mostly pros, about the difference between using a mortgage broker versus using a bank. Now, a mortgage broker, so Robin and myself are very similar in what we do and offer. So Robin has access to over 30 different lenders' products, so she can shop around for some amazing deals and prices and things like that. She works the same hours as us. We don't really have set hours. You need to get a hold of us at, you know, sometime in the evening, feel free to get a hold of us, right? I mean, the odd time, maybe it's midnight or 2 in the morning, we might not be able to answer you, but we work whenever, and so you can get a hold of us at any time. So we're both the same way that way. She's going to offer you the best rates up front. You know, this is what it is. This is the best we can offer. Here you go. There's no worry about negotiating a better price. Again, like myself, for buying a home, this service is free. Free is great. Who doesn't love free stuff, right? So this is free. And you can call or text her and myself at any time with any questions you have, right? This is a big deal. So we want to make sure that we're available for you all the time. Difference between that and the bank. Again, the banks, they're restricted to one lender's products, which is usually their in-house product. So they're just restricted to that. They're going to sell that. They work normal bank hours. So chances are once the day's over at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m., whatever it is, that's it for them. They're done, right? Weekends, a little harder. They offer bank posted rates. So that's what they're going to offer you. And if you want a less rate, you're going to have to negotiate. And some people just strictly just don't like negotiating. So you might be stuck with that. So again, mortgage brokers are going to offer you the best rate up front. Robin's going to offer you that great rate, whereas you might have to negotiate that with a bank. Personal bankers work for generally the best interest of their employer, which is the bank. Whereas again, we work for you for the best that we can do for you. And again, like we say, they are harder to get a hold of. So mortgage brokers are also specialists. They specialize in mortgages. That's their deal. Whereas personal bankers are more generalists, right? They're there just to make sure the bank and everything like that is doing what they're supposed to, right? So that's the big difference. Again, there's nothing wrong with going to your bank, right? If they give you a rate, you can always bring it to Robin and say, this is what they give me. What can we get better or match it, or what's the deal, right? So, but those are just the differences between a mortgage broker and using your bank. So it's so much more valuable and so much more easier to get a hold of us when you use a mortgage broker. So just a few things to think of. So if anybody, again, has any questions on any of that, let us know. Book a call with us. We can definitely answer more questions. That kind of takes care of a lot of the financing things. Again, that's a big quick run through because there's a ton of stuff we can go through, but everybody's different, right? So if we get more personalized, we just be on forever. But if anybody wants to know if they're pre-approved or wants to get this process started, book a call with us. we'll definitely get you in touch and we'll see what we can do for you and how we can help you. Again, there's a ton of products out there. There's a ton of programs. You know, everybody can get benefit from this. So again, if anybody has any questions on the financing thing, please let us know. Otherwise, we're going to kind of get into the real estate side of things. And again, I want to thank Robin for all this. She's been a fantastic help for answering questions. So it's great. She's called her lots. So it's utilize her if you need, for sure. Okay, so let's jump into more of the real estate side of things. So there's a few things on here that I'm going to touch base with to kind of help out some more questions on things. So again, like I said before, I don't really touch a whole lot on new builds just because majority of first-time home buyers don't deal with new builds, but I feel these are things just to know from it. So, so here we go with builders. They're kind of like banks in a sense. Like I touched the difference between a mortgage broker and a banker, how one works with you and the other works for them. This is kind of what builders are like. Builders build their own product. That's one thing. That's what they do. They're going to sell you their product and their product alone. So they generally don't have your best interests at heart when it comes to if you go directly to a builder. Again, I work for you. I can give you, you know, if you go to a builder, they're like, yeah, this is our house. This is our nice product. You know, what do you think? You want it? There you go. You just get one option. Whereas I can take you around to a bunch of different builders, bunch of different new builds, and a whole bunch of resale, right? We have the entire options to go everywhere. So why not bring me with you to make sure that everything is okay? You know, I can also tell you who the good builders are and who the bad builders are. Now, again, this is a recorded webinar, and I'm not going to drop names because frankly, if one of them is listening, I don't want that headache phone call at the end of this where they're getting mad at me for saying bad things, but I have that knowledge in my head that I can share with you. Also, the other thing too, is that a lot of new builds offer packages. Like if you want to add a basement, add a garage, upgrade appliances, upgrade anything, we can see the prices of all those and we can see if, you know, is this going to be worth it? Is this a good deal, or can we find a better deal elsewhere? Things like that. I bring that knowledge with you. Again, they're just trying to sell their product, but I can actually help you determine, you know, is that a good deal or not, right? Within a, it'd take a little bit of doing, but we can do that. But that's just things that I can help for you. I'm also, again, like I said before, I am neutral, right? Again, I don't work for the builders, I work for you. So again, I have your back. So you gain a lot of knowledge bringing with me. And then I've had people ask me, well, does it cost the same if I just went straight to a builder instead of through a realtor? And the answer is no. It's cost the same amount to go to a builder than it is with a realtor, because the builders know that a lot of realtors are going to sell their products. So they build our fees into their purchase price. So it doesn't cost you any different if you went directly to them. But now with me, you have more of a negotiation process, right? If we go in there, a lot of builders don't really negotiate on the purchase price just because it affects a lot of their products. But what we can negotiate is a better price in, let's say, an appliance package and things like that. Maybe we can get upgrade appliances for less. That way you're not taking off the purchase price, but you're taking off appliances, things like that. So again, I can deal with negotiations and things like that with builders. Another thing to watch for too is some builders, not all of them, but some in their contracts have clauses when it comes to wood prices, right? Cost of building materials goes up, the price of your home would go up, right? So let's just say, for an example, we've agreed on a price of $500,000, all this stuff, but the house isn't going to be built for another 3 more months, let's say, before it's completed. During that 3 months, building material prices just went up, 10% or whatever. Well, now your $500,000 is also going to go up because of that, because there's a clause in their contract stating that if the prices go up, that your price goes up. We don't want that. Some builders don't have that, which is fantastic, but you need to know about that. All right, that's something that you need to watch out for. That's the things that I can help you with. Okay, now I don't touch a lot on again, new builds, but this is just some things you guys should have knowledge with, right? So if you have any questions about new builds, again, throw it in the chat or book a call with me. We'll talk more about new builds, but it's just a little bit to touch on, right? And again, I will throw this in here. Thanks again, Robin, for answering these questions as I'm rambling on here. But again, I will throw this in here. Book a call with me. We can get everything sorted out that way too, if you want to know more about the new builds. Okay. So this is stuff that I like to talk about because this is one of the main things to do when it comes to buying a home. You can book a call anytime. It's so I'll just touch base on that. When this booking link it's connected directly to my calendar. So if I have things already booked, appointments later on, it won't book anything on top of those. So you just click on the booking link. It'll have all the times on whatever day it's possible with you. You can book into next week. You can book tomorrow. Tomorrow might be a little busy, but Friday anytime, it'll be able to accommodate anything that I have going on and fit you in. That's just for the initial phone call, and I'll talk a bit about that at the end of this. But yeah, you can book a call at any time. Go ahead. We'll be able to book a call together. So as I was mentioning here, this is the main thing that happens with the condition period is a home inspection. Now, a little disclaimer, you do not have to have a home inspection. Okay, it is optional, but it is something I highly recommend you do not skip. Now, in the chat, everybody, let me know, does anybody know the average price of a home inspection in Saskatoon? This can vary between condos, townhouses, and homes, but just let me know if anybody has an idea of how much one of these costs. Anyone want to throw an answer or a guess out there just to see if they're even close? Oh, 150. Wow, I wish. Unfortunately, I wish, but 150 would be nice. But no, actually, the average for a detached home, yeah, is more around anywhere from, it's around 4 to 450 roughly. My guy I know does detached homes for, I believe it's, I want to say 425 or 475. Depends also on the square footage. Anything over 2,000 square feet, it can get upwards to like 500 and over. But it's about average for a home is about $400 to $500 depending on the person you find. It's about $3-ish for like an apartment style condo, and about $3 to $4 for a townhouse attached duplex. But those are about the average prices for a home inspection. Now, some people I've been told say, well, that seems like a lot of money for it. But really, when you're spending about $300,000 roughly on a home, a $400 or $500 investment is nothing compared to the amount of knowledge you get about your home. This is amazing and it's so helpful. And I'll explain why, and you'll see by some scenarios that I have of why this is amazing. So I'll just say off the start, this is part of the condition. So in that conditionary periods, when I say we make sure the house is good, this is what determines if the house is good. So a condition in the contract is basically to satisfy what's good for you. So we have to be approving of this home inspection. Now, if there's something in the home inspection you don't like, you can walk away from this deal. You do not lose your deposit. It's a get out of jail free card, right? The only downside is that if you walk away from the home because of it, you'd have to pay for an inspection on another home. But a lot of home inspectors, if the first deal doesn't go through, they offer a lot of discounts to do a second one, just so you know. But our goal is, usually it rarely happens that it falls through. It doesn't happen often where people back out because of the home inspection. But anyway, some scenarios and why it's such a good thing. So the home inspector is going to come in and they're going to look at absolutely everything in the house. So from the mechanicals, your hot water heater, your furnace, your air conditioner, every appliance they're going to test. They're going to look at all the electrical, all the plumbing. There is really nothing these guys miss. It is insane the amount that they get through and what they can find. So when we do our normal walkthrough of a house, I notice things around the house, but I can't see through walls and I can't see in the attic, right? But these guys using infrared technology can see insulation and mold and all that stuff. It's pretty crazy the stuff they can see and they notice, right? It's insane. And so they're going to test everything and make sure it's good. So I'll use my own house as an example. I bought my house in 2016 in Warman. It was built in 2012, so it was 4 years old. And the ensuite bathroom upstairs, our shower apparently had a leak, and it was leaking from the shower down into the main floor bathroom. but we didn't notice it. You can't see it through the naked eye, but my home inspector was able to see that there was water coming down. There's a little bit of a drip, but over time that would have made a lot of issues. I obviously would have had to rip open the ceiling and fix whatever was fixed, and it would have cost me a ton of money. All it cost me, besides the amount of the home inspection, was a little chunk of caulking. I had to put it on the shower, and it fixed it, and we're fine. So that saved me a ton of money right there. A couple more scenarios, not with my house, but things that happened just previously here, I guess in the last week. I've had 2 home inspections I did, and the one it was an apartment style condo, and the main bathroom, they flipped the fan on, the exhaust fan, and you could hear it running and it sounded good. But what my home inspector noticed was that, yes, the fan was working, but it wasn't actually venting to the outside. So the outside flap wasn't coming open as it's turned on. So to him, that meant that somewhere between the fan in the bathroom and the vent outside, there was a disconnect somewhere. So all that moisture from the shower, all that steam is going into the walls and not outside, which isn't very good. Now when you get mold and things like that can build up. So what happens is that comes to me, and I talk with the seller to see how we can rectify the situation. Normally I'd say you guys should really fix that because that is not good. And the sellers will either agree to fix it, or we can agree to a less of a purchase price, kind of I wouldn't say a rule of thumb, but most of the time when things happen, it depends on the situation, but usually you and the seller would split costs on things, not all the time, but that's just kind of sometimes how it works. It has happened before where they replace the unit if it needed to be, but most of the time it's you split that cost kind of deal just to help each other out. But what we found out, because that was a condo, the sellers brought that to the condo board, the building manager, and they said, that was great. Thank you for bringing it up to us. That actually is our problem to deal with. So the sellers didn't have to worry about fixing it. The buyers don't have to worry about fixing it. The condo corporation or the building manager, it's the condo's responsibility to fix that. So now that just worked out for everybody, and we got that in writing and we're good. So we ended up proceeding with the sale. The other one I had done, we were looking at a townhouse condo. I had a basement done, but whoever did the basement, it wasn't done very well. So there was a lot of issues, a lot of things that needed to be fixed. Now, it wasn't major issues, but little things like we needed to put a GFI plug by the jacuzzi tub in the basement, right? We needed a new P-trap underneath the one sink in the bathroom, right? We needed the hot water heater wasn't broken, it was working, but it needed to be serviced, right? It didn't need to be replaced, just serviced. So little things like that, and all that added up to, it could have been around $1,000 to fix all the little things, right? It was just little things, but it added up. So we took that back to the seller and said, look, there's a lot of things that need to be worked on. What can we do? Can you get somebody to come in and fix this before we move in, or what? And so because the owner didn't live in the province, he lived out of province. He had it rented out. He said it would be too much for him to get somebody to come in, deal with the renters. So what he did was agree to take $2,000 off the purchase price just to help them out, right? Like a new hot water heater was anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000. So he at least gave them that money to replace a water heater if needed, even though it didn't need to be. But we can do those things, right? That's the nice thing about these home inspections, is we can take it back to negotiations. If it needs a lot of work done, we can negotiate more of a price off, get them to fix things, whatever. Or if it's just way too bad and they may not be, sometimes sellers just don't agree to any of it, you can again walk away from the deal and we can go find you something that doesn't need a lot of work. That's what these home inspections are so amazing for, right? So that's why, even though you don't have to do it, I highly, highly recommend getting them done, because it is such a good investment. And they'll show you all the things that you can do that doesn't need to be fixed right away, but that can be done later on for maintenance. It's no different than buying like a car, right? They're going to tell you, if it's a used car, they're going to be like, maybe you should do this or this down the road just to prevent any major issues from happening. Well, it's the same thing with houses, right? Just they're going to show you things that need to be just looked at later on, not right away, but things to work on to keep your house running smoothly. So that is the biggest thing about home inspections. Anybody have any questions on home inspections or anything like that? And again, with home inspections, I set it up. I will, if you have your own home inspector of using, let me know and I can get a hold of them. But it just comes down to finding somebody who's available. I have a guy I use a lot, and I would just book it. And then basically once they get in, they go do their thing. We meet them after they're done and we do an hour walkthrough with them. And then they'll send you the report. So it's pretty good system to have, but that's it. So if, you know, like I said, you're going to save a ton of money on it just by the fact that they might miss something major that could happen in the house, right? We don't want you to move in and realize the house is, or the roof is going to cave in another month, right? It's going to save you a ton of money just to have all that knowledge. So are you talking like the contracts have home inspection in them? Is that what you mean? Because these are just things we build into the contract, right? Like I said, you don't have to have them, but it's highly recommended we do them. The process to have an inspection basically is once we agree to a house, because a lot of them are booking right away, they're booking at least almost like a week to 2 weeks in advance. We basically, once we agree on a price and agree to this, it's instantly get these guys booked because they are booking quite solid, but we're still able to do it. And then so once we get them booked in, we pick a time that works for you, because in the end it has to work for you as well. We get them in there, that he does their thing, and then we meet with him after for about an hour and we all walk through together and he'll explain everything. If there's a chance that no matter what we do, we cannot find the guy in time and it doesn't work for you, I can still do the walkthrough for you. And then I can explain to you everything he explained to you. You'll still get the report, but at least somebody's there to see what's going on. Yeah, actually, that's a good question. So with this market, yeah, no, you can still negotiate. It's, you know, like I said, I did this literally, this would have been 2 days ago, 2 or 3 days ago now, I believe. We were fighting this seller. I don't want to say fighting, it sounds bad, but this seller was very stubborn because he had tenants in there. He wasn't worried about if he didn't sell this house or not. He was just looking to get a certain price, and if he didn't like it, walk away because I can still rent it, basically was his mentality. But like I said, we did this home inspection and we found a lot of stuff wrong in the basement, and even though he was very hard-nosed and didn't want to budge on anything, we were still able to, I still managed to negotiate at least $2,000 off the purchase price. Even though the entire time he was adamant he wasn't going to take anything less, we still managed to get negotiations on that. So yes, it may be a strong seller's, you know, if you want to call it a seller's market, right? That's what a lot of people are saying, but it is a hot market. But no, negotiations are still a thing, right? It's still able to negotiate off the asking price or get them to fix things. It's you know, you will run into, every seller is different. You're going to run into some that are just, you know, they might just be hard nosed in the head and just, we're not going to take anything less, take it or leave it. It happens, unfortunately, and sometimes there is nothing you can do about it, but a lot of people are still very reasonable, right? They realize that things need to be fixed, and that can happen. So it happened to me when I bought a house too. In my One Medicine Hat, the hot water heater was on its way out. They knew it, so they offered to leave. It was a fireplace TV stand, very nice, expensive. It was like valued at like $500, and I told them they can, yeah, sure, you can leave it, I'll take it. And I ended up not replacing the hot water heater for, I think, 2 years after that anyway. So just because it may be on its way out doesn't mean it necessarily has to be replaced that day. So, but no, definitely you can still negotiate some things. It's not like too bad, here you go. It's, people still need to have a house that's going to be functioning when they move in, right? So there's no worries on that. I will still go into negotiations for you. That's the whole point of having me, so I can deal with that. So any other questions on the home inspections? They're pretty straightforward. There's not much to it. Most of the guys I work with are fantastic, and like I said, they don't miss anything. They tell you exactly how it is. They don't hide anything. They don't sugarcoat anything. This is what it is. If you want it, perfect. So that's the nice thing about that. And they're really reasonable on trying to find times and working with you. So, but if there's no more questions on that, I will go to the next part, which deals more with condos, but it's a thing to think about. So with condos now, condos can come in any sorts of any form. It's not just a apartment style condo. Sorry, it can be townhouses, duplexes. There's even houses out there now, like detached homes that are part of a condo unit. So they are starting to pop up more and more now. So if you see a detached house, sometimes they can still be part of a condo corporation. So things like that to look out for. But anyways, if there's anywhere on there that says it's part of a condo, in any purchase contract, I should say, it's built into these for a condo that you have to have what's called a Schedule C or an estoppel package. So with these, because it's mandatory. What it is a big book of information on the condo. So it's kind of like a home inspection, but a little bit different. So basically what it is it has pretty much the entire information of the condos, what the bylaws are, what you can and can't do in them, what, maybe there's some stipulations on renovations you can and can't do, right? It tells you how many parking spaces you have. It tells you what they cover, what you cover, right? Some condos I know, they'll replace the outside doors and windows. That's their problem. Some condos, that's your problem, right? Things like that to look for. A little disclaimer on condos though, is for these packages, I am not qualified to read through them and tell you what's good or bad. I just know what's entailed in them. So what happens with this is when we get this, we agree to a purchase price, say we need the Schedule C, the other agent gives it to us. Once I get it, I send it to you to look for, and I highly recommend you read through it, at least read through the bylaws to make sure you know what's going on. But also, I always recommend it goes right to your lawyer. The lawyer can tell you everything and see if there's any discrepancies or anything to worry about. Most lawyers, I know the lawyer that I use, he's really good too. He doesn't charge to look at these Schedule Cs or these estoppel packages, as long as you're going with him to use them for the deal, he won't charge you for it. So that's a nice thing as well. So anyways, one of the main things in these is what's called the reserve fund. So this is the amount of money that the condo corporation has to do repairs on the building themselves. So I like to use these apartment style condos. It's just easier to deal with. For an example, let's just say there's a 20 unit condominium and the roof needs to be replaced. And let's say the roof costs $100,000 to replace, but there's no money in the reserve fund. They're going to come to every condo owner and ask for $5,000 of them to pay to fix this up. Now that's an extreme example, but that's just something that to watch out for with condos, is that if there's not enough money in the reserve fund, they will come to the condo owners and ask for a certain amount of money. So things to watch out for. So that's why it's good to send to the lawyer, because he can look at that and let you know if it's good or if it needs more or what needs to be done, right? So in this estoppel package as well, with the reserve fund, it'll tell you what's been fixed, what needs to be fixed, how much is in there, things like that. I'll tell you all that. It'll tell you the bylaws, like I said, what you can and can't do, what's restricted, like pets and things like that, what's covered, parking spaces, everything like that. So again, another scenario I had is with a client of mine. We looked at a condo, we got in there and we noticed it was on the 3rd floor, so the top floor. The balcony outside was pretty rough shape. So the wood that was on the flooring of it was starting to rot away. And then the metal railing was starting to fall apart too, rust away. So we realized that's a pretty big hazard if you were to fall through this thing. So we looked into the estoppel package and it said that we are aware of the balconies. It is in a plan to fix. So within the next year or two, we're going to start from the worst balconies and fix them until they're all replaced. And we have enough money in the reserve fund, so no extra cost to you as a condo owner. So that was good. We realized that it's going to get fixed and no cost to us. Perfect. Let's keep going. So we kept looking around the place. My client did not like carpet, hates carpet. So he wanted everything ripped out to put laminate down. The only thing that had carpet was the bedrooms. That was the only thing that had carpet. So he was going to rip those out and put laminate down. We looked in the bylaw and it said that if you were doing renovations, you cannot put anything other than carpet down in the main living areas, because what happened was once people ripped the carpet out and put laminate down, that soft cushion for walking on went away. So now it made it louder for residents underneath when you're walking along. So they made a bylaw saying that you have to replace it with carpet. So that was kind of an issue. So we thought about it. We realized the flooring that was in there was in really good shape and it wasn't gonna have to be replaced in a long time. So he was okay with it because he really, really liked the condo. But at least he had that knowledge, knowing that if he was going to replace something, that it wouldn't be to what he wants, right? So it's things like that to look for in the bylaws. That's why it's so good to read these things to make sure that if you're going to renovate something, that it's within the right bylaws. Now, that being said, every condo is different. Not one condo is the same. Even if it's run by the same condo company, like let's say, whatever company runs 2 different condo buildings, they may have different sets of bylaws for each building, right? So that's why when we look at condos, you send this to the lawyer and he'll let us know if there's anything to worry about or good to go. Another thing I did notice in one of these, just for one random unit, they had what was a move in and a move out fee. So on the fact that you're buying this condo and paying condo fees, they charged $100 for you to move in and $100 for you to move out. It's just to cover costs of anything that gets scuffed or marked up during the move. But that was good to bring forward to my buyers to let them know that, hey, just so you know, there is $100 fee. So the Schedule C and this estoppel package works the exact same as a home inspection. It's built into the condition so that if there's an issue in there, maybe there isn't enough in the reserve fund, maybe there's too much that you may have to pay for out of your own pocket, you can the same thing, just say, nope, I don't like that. I want to go find someplace else. I don't have to worry about that. We walk away and go find something else. And the nice thing about the Schedule C is it is a free cost. The only cost, there is no cost to it. It doesn't cost you anything to read it over. The only thing is it depends on the lawyer you use. Some lawyers may charge for it, but like I said, mine doesn't charge for it as long as you go through the whole process with him. So that's kind of what's in the estoppel package. It's very beneficial to look over and make sure everything's covered and a lawyer to look at. So that's kind of it with that. It's going to cost you, like I said, it doesn't cost you anything, but if there's things in the bylaws or things that you have to pay for out of pocket, it's going to save you that. So that's kind of the Schedule C. So I'm going to answer some questions here before I move on a little bit. I know there's some coming in from it. Oh yeah, thanks, Robin. Yeah, yeah, roughly it depends on the place and it depends on how much the lawyers have to do. That's kind of the thing with lawyers, it all depends. You know, if it's just a straightforward transaction, usually it's anywhere. Buying is going to cost you a little bit more because they're going to do the mortgage processing and things like that. But usually the mortgage or the lawyer fees are, well, anywhere. Depends on what you're using. If it's an apartment condo, it could be $800. If it's a detached home, it could be anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500. That's kind of a rough average, and it all again depends on who you use as a lawyer and what they have to do, right? So let's see what else we have. So any repairs that's done in the past 5 years, are we talking, Paula, are we talking for Schedule C or for the home inspection? If we're talking to Schedule C, it'll tell you the repairs up pretty much right from day one of the building. So if this is a 20-year-old building, it'll tell you exactly what's been done and fixed throughout the last 20 years and when it was done and how much it costs. It is like, honestly, it is insane the amount of information that's in it. It is a huge book. Like it'll take you a long time to read it, but it'll tell you everything. So it doesn't hide anything of what's been fixed. It'll tell you exactly what needs to be fixed, if anything needs to be fixed, right? And it'll tell you all that, right? So no, it's not going to be in place of a home inspection because basically the estoppel package covers the main part of the building. So like the outside of the building and the common areas. So the hallways, the main areas, like if it's a apartment style condo, you have your main lobby. So that's all covered by it. But the stuff within your unit itself, that's all covered from you, right? So if there's any repairs like plumbing, electrical work, things like that in your unit, you are responsible for that. No different than another home. So that's why you get that as well as a home inspection, right? It kind of works hand in hand, but at least you know what they're going to cover in the condo and what they're going to fix. And then you know what you're going to have to worry about fixing in your unit, right? So it kind of goes hand in hand. But again, same thing. If you get a condo with a home inspection and a Schedule C, that's two options there that if something doesn't seem right or is just might be too much to deal with, you can walk away. So it's a lot of conditions, but it's nice because you have that knowledge. Let's see what else. So some pros and cons. That's a good question about a townhouse to an actual house. So it all depends. A lot of it depends on what they offer, right? Some townhouses offer, it depends. Like if you're in like a townhouse, kind of like a condo, let's say there's like 4 condos attached and there's a few more on a different row and a few more down a different row, right? Like it's a big condo area that has a bunch of these attached townhouses. They sometimes offer like snow removal and lawn care and things like that, right? And they'll offer maybe like, so some utilities it would cover maybe would be, you know, everything but electricity. Some condos, I even know some condos that actually cover electricity. Those are more for apartment style condos, but for townhouses, they'll cover like sewer. Sometimes they'll cover water. They'll take care of snow removal and lawn maintenance. So to some people that don't want to go out and shovel, because let's be honest, we live in Saskatchewan and it's constantly snowing here. some people just don't have to deal with that, which is nice, especially if you have a driveway with a garage. You don't have to worry about removing snow. They'll clear that for you. They'll take care of the lawn maintenance, right? So that's kind of the benefit to having it instead of a detached home, where a detached home, you are in charge of literally everything, snow removal, maintenance, all that, right? So those are kind of the pros and cons of it. Yes, you're going to pay condo fees, so that's kind of a con of buying a townhouse condo, but you know, some of them you won't have to worry about replacing shingles on a roof, right? They'll cover that. You won't have to worry about replacing windows and doors. They'll cover that. Some of them, like I said before, some of them say you have to. So things like that to look for, right? That's the pros and cons. And I mean, with a townhouse condo, you're still getting a full home, but it comes with a little bit of perks that way, right? That's just, and there's pros and cons with everything. It's all individualized depending on what your situation is, right? Some people don't like them because they want to be completely free and have their own yard and do what they want, and that's completely fine. That's why I like to sit down with you and discuss what it is exactly you need and want in a home. That way we can figure out what would be the best fit for you, right? Maybe a townhouse condo is a good fit, right? So it's things like that. And yes, that is correct. Yeah, we fit the condo fees into the pre-approval process. So it's not like you're going to be approved for that and all of a sudden, oh, now you got to pay $300 extra a month on condo fees, right? Another thing is, some people don't realize too, is when you go for possession date, you have to have home insurance on the home to complete the process, right? Doesn't matter if it's an apartment condo, you have to show proof of home insurance as well. I'm not, that again is a good question, Paul. I'm not sure if there is a limit. I guess it all depends on condos, right? Every condo corporation is different. Again, they're kind of like builders, you know, you can tell which ones are the good ones and which ones are the bad ones, right? But I know a lot of them are pretty good, and that it's, you know, some will go up $10 a month, maybe, if that, a year, if that. It all depends on the condo and what they offer, right? Some condos, I know there's a few downtown that have like a swimming pool and hot tub and like amenities room, games room, fitness room, all in there. Their condo fees are quite high, but but they don't pay for power, right? And they're going to heat the pool, heat the jacuzzi, all that stuff, right? So it all depends. And if there's going to be more maintenance done to the pool, right, that's going to come into effect on how much they're going to raise condo fees, right? Sometimes if they do have to do a major repair, and yes, the reserve fund is there to cover it, but now they got to rebuild that reserve fund, they might go up a little bit just to help rebuild that, right? So it's things like, that's why it's again good to read these Schedule Cs, get a lawyer to look at it to make sure that it's not going to go up. I believe so. That's a good question, Paul. Let me look into that. Again, like I said, I'm not qualified to read what's in those, because it's just, like I said, there's so much and there's so much legalities with it. I can't really say, and because then it gets me into legal trouble, right? But let me either book a call with me, or at the end of this, I'm going to put my personal number too and just text that to me. I'm going to talk with my lawyer and I will get that answered for you, and we'll see. I'm pretty sure it would, but we'll see. Yeah, so that's, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's, if you want to, yeah, if you're not deciding on it, like honestly, there's a client couple that I'm dealing with. They're fantastic people, but we've looked at everything out there just to see what is the best fit for them, right? When I first started looking together, honestly, this was actually, I'll be honest with you, this was from another client from another webinar of these I did. They were strictly wanting to look at apartment condos in the central business district in Saskatoon. And I kid you not, in one day, in 3 hours, we looked at 10 different units in 3 hours. Like, it was a lot. So we looked at a ton of these condo units. And then the next few days, we decided we're going to look at townhouses. Maybe that's something they'd be interested in. Then we ended up looking at detached homes, resale detached homes, to all the way up to new builds. Like, we didn't skip a single thing, but they wanted all the options out there, and I had fun doing it. You got so much knowledge of it. It's just, do you want to spend this much and not have to worry about maintenance so you can travel, or do you want a detached home where you can take care of everything yourself, right? Whatever it is, some people just don't know what exactly it is that they for sure want. So let's go look at it. Let's make that decision. Let's actually get into it and see what we can find out. Like, we can look at them all day and not write any, offers, right? So it's not going to cost you anything but your time and fuel. Really, that's about it. But it at least gives you that big knowledge, right? And like I said, I did it for clients. I do it for clients. I like it. I enjoy it. I like meeting people. I love talking with people, right? So I like to figure out as we go, and things change. Maybe you have a different idea once you see a few things. You're like, maybe this is better. Well, let's look at that. Okay, I know we got a little off track here, but that's pretty much it anyways. Like, that's the schedule. See if anybody has any more questions about that. But yeah, we pretty much wrapped up into that now. Just throw in the chat. Hopefully I've eliminated a lot of those stressors at the start of it. Like I said, that is my job and my goal. So when you come to me to look for places and look for your first house, I'm making it as smooth as possible. Whatever issues arise, which can happen, I'm there to facilitate it and make sure it's a smooth process. In no way do I push you ever to buy something you're not comfortable with, right? If it seems like the seller or something like that is not being reasonable, and I will never push you to accept something just for the fact to accept something. That's just not how I operate. That's not how I work. I work for you to make sure everything is okay and secure. I work for you. That's the thing. So hopefully in the chat, let me know. Hopefully I helped you guys with a lot of that, eliminated some stresses, and hopefully that's. And then again, I know I haven't done it a bit yet. Let me just throw it in here again. Book a call with me if you're ready to do this. If you want to get approval, or maybe you already have approval done too, by all means, let me know, and we can get this going. See, maybe we just have a talk. Like, I love talking to people to see what they're going through, right? If you're not ready to buy right now, maybe we can discuss what it is or what you need to do, and what we can look forward to in the future. Oh yeah, absolutely. Thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, like this is fun. I love doing this. I love this job. It's as much as I don't think it's a job, it's more of a lifestyle now, right? But it's so fun. So this is what it's going to look like when you book a call. This isn't exactly it. This is just an example, but it'll give you times. It'll give you dates that, I'm available. So I want to elaborate a little bit on that, is that just because your initial call, I'd like you to book a call, right? It's just to fit you in to get that initial call. But once you work with me and we're looking for houses, don't worry, you do not have to book a call to get a hold of me. Once we're working together, like even after your first initial call, you'll have everything you need. You get a hold of me at any time that you have any questions ever whatsoever. So just so you know, this is just for an initial consult to discuss anything. Again, everything is free. Like, I'm not going to charge you anything for this. Just let me know. And so here in the chat as well, everybody has my booking link. It has my email address. It has my direct cell phone number. And it has my Linktree again. And again, if you go to the Linktree, you'll have all my social media pages. But I prefer the initial call to be booked in just to make sure I have time to literally sit down and be good to cover everything. And then after that, that's my cell number. Text me, call me, whatever you need from me. I will be there to answer anything you need. And hopefully, and if I don't have the answers, because honestly, nobody ever has all the answers, right? If I don't have the answers, trust me, I have so many connections that I can get that answer, whether it be lawyers, Robin, our mortgage broker, financing questions, other colleagues of mine. I'll be completely transparent. When I first started with EXP, even though I did a bunch of deals at my old brokerage, they set me up with a coach, and she's been fantastic. So I don't have her anymore because I've passed that probation period, if you want to call it that. But she's great. I can call her anytime if I have her questions, because there's always something new with this business. Never any deal is the same. So don't worry. If I don't have the answers, I'm going to try to have the answers. I will get the answers for you. So feel free, text me, email me with anything you have, book a call with me. We'll discuss things, see how things are going, and check out, like I said, check out my social media. The odd time I'll have some motivational videos. Every Monday I throw a motivational video out there. So if you're really down on the week, I'll try to boost you back up. If not, there's some funny memes every now and then. There's some real estate facts. There's some listing things, tons of things. So if you want a good laugh from things like that, feel free, follow it all. And yeah, definitely book a call, talk with Robin. She can help you out anyway with any mortgage questions or anything like that. Even if you're close, but you're not quite there, Robin can definitely give you suggestions and tips on what to do to get there, right? What's some really good steps, right? We even have good connections with financial advisors, right? So if you need a plan to help you save money or to help with debt or anything like that, we have those connections. This business has connections for everything. You need a plumber, an electrician, you need a home inspector, anything, you let us know, we'll have a connection of some sorts, right? I know photographers, like you meet so many people. If you need a dog groomer, man, I've got connection for dog groomers, right? It's whatever you need, we are there to provide it for you. And again, like I say, our services for buying a home is free. Now a little different if you go to sell your home, then that's where the realtor fees come out. But to buy everything, our services are free. So that's kind of where it is. So again, that's everything. Feel free. I'm here. I'll stick around for that. I'll be here for a little bit. We still have time. If anybody's got any random questions or anything, feel free, throw in the chat. It's free game now. Let me know if any questions are on your mind. I think I did see. Oh, I'm gonna scroll back a little bit in the chat because sorry, I'll get going and I kind of get lost in some things. Let me just look back here. Oh, I seen something about a new bill, I think. Oh yeah, I don't know, Alana, are you still here? I'm not sure if you're still here or not, Alana, but I know that it was asked about is it better to buy new build or a few years old or older? So that's a really good question. I'm not, that's a kind of a loaded question because it all depends on what it is that you need. So if anybody is questioning that, is it better to have a new build? Is it better to have, a slightly older home, or is it better to have a really old home? It all depends on your situation. Some people love new builds because it's brand new and you get a year's worth of home warranty, but with new builds that comes with a higher cost, right? And sometimes you don't get a fully finished home, right? You'll have to spend extra to get the basement and the garage and things like that and extras, right? Whereas a slightly few years older home, like I said, I bought my home, it was 4 years old, right? So it's been good for a while. Yes, I don't have the home warranty anymore, but things are still relatively new. But it doesn't matter. Like, it's like everything, right? You just, nothing ever is, unfortunately these days built to last, right? Let's be honest. But some circumstances you can buy a house and the home inspection passed with flying colors, but in the month, like the hot water heater goes. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. Again, I like to use, it's no different than buying a used car, right? If you buy a used car, it could be fantastic. Mechanics can look it over, but in a month, maybe you blow a head gasket or something, right? It's just like that. But so it just all depends on what you're looking for. Some people like to go older homes because they have more character. They have more maybe curb appeal, like they have the nice big trees that are well developed, right? It's in a nice shaded area with trees. It has the fully developed basement. They like that style of home. Some people like to have a newer home, but not a new build, right? It's kind of got the kink kind of worked out right away, right? It's all depends. There really is no, benefit to one or the other. It's just whatever benefits you as a buyer, right? It's whatever it is that you feel is the better choice. Right. And either your choice is absolutely 100% fine with me. I'm just there to facilitate it and help you, kind of guide you on what some things are to watch out for, what are some things to help you with. Right. So, right. There's nothing wrong with new builds. It's just some things to watch out for, though. It depends on the area. Now you're into a wide open development area where it's just, you don't have landscaping done. It's all dirt and it's dusty. And until it actually gets fully developed, but you have a nice new home, right? It's just things to think of like that. Whereas some people like the older communities like Montgomery. People love Montgomery. It's an older community, but it's so well established and treed in, and it's a beautiful place, but not a lot of homes go up for sale in that area because it's such a nice area, right? It's well developed, but older, like 80s style homes, right? So I know with our place here for the first little bit, because when we bought it, it was still kind of being developed across the street. We got a ton of dust in the house. So we ended up cleaning out our ducts almost once a year, but now that they got everything built up and established, that's cut it down quite a bit. So things like that, when we go to look at houses, sometimes that's just the deciding factor of, do you want this house? Yes, it's a perfect house, but I don't like that it backs onto nothing and it's going to be wide open and constantly windy. I know we looked at a house here yesterday. I went to show a client some houses, and the one, they loved the house, beautiful house. It was well maintained, well taken care of, but the back fence was right against the parking lot of apartment style condos, right? So it was like you had a big backyard, but your back fence was connected to basically a parking lot. So when they sat on the deck looking out, you're seeing just a parking lot and a bunch of condo units, right? So they're like, as much as they love the house, that wasn't okay with them because you have to live there, right? That's your choice. So it's things like that we look for, right? Maybe the house is immaculate, but there's just surrounding areas that decide it for you. So that's some things we look at and talk about, right? It's okay. You are never forced into something you don't want. That's the idea of all this. So yeah, anybody else have any questions on anything? Any comments on anything? I know a lot of it is a lot of people get a little bit concerned about the market, and yes, it is a faster pace, a little kind of go market, but it's nothing's impossible, right? I've found homes for clients. It's just like I said, if I can't get it on the MLS because there's multiple offers and things like that, I will look outside of that to off sale markets where we don't have to fight a bunch of competition. It's just straight up, we're going to go together and there's no competition for it. They decide they're going to sell, easy peasy, right? It's just things like that, right? It's just things that I can help with to make it easier, right? It's nothing's impossible. It's just takes a bit of work, but it's still a fun process. I love looking at houses, right? It's fun. You always see something interesting. Every time you see a house, it's always something a little bit different and interesting that you notice in different people's. And you can take it, once you buy that place, and this is down the road, but you want to find something different. Now you know what's different for later on that you want to adjust, right? Maybe, this time we want an attached, we want an ensuite bathroom, right? This would be nice to have, or we want walk-in closets or whatever it is, right? So it's a fun process, and I make sure it's fun. And we're always in constant communication with each other, right? There's nothing, if I'll always let you know that things are going smooth and that we keep in contact. So that's the nice part is that's it. And I'm never done once the deal is done. Unfortunately, depends, right? Depends, but I won't let you just walk away and we're never talk again. I'm always going to follow up with you, make sure you're having fun at the house, make sure everything's good. If there's anything else I can help you with, right? Anything like that. And just keep in contact, because I love helping people and getting them in, especially when they, kids and stuff like that really appreciate things too. So it's fun. So yeah, feel free. Anybody, any questions or anything? I know I got about, I got any time really. I have at least another 10 more minutes that I can ramble on about. There's still a few of us on here. So again, book a call with me. Let me know what you guys think. Booking links up there. My personal cell is up there. So, we'll be good. Let me know if you guys have any more comments. Again, I want to thank Robin as well. Appreciate it for being here and answering questions, and looking forward to getting her to help you guys out as well. And if not, I'll still ramble on. I know I like to. This is always a funny thing with me when it came to my first buying my first home. I didn't have this. I just basically got approved and went and found a house. I messaged my buddy who just bought a house, and I said, "Who did you use?" So he referred me to his agent. He said it was fantastic, and he was an older gentleman. He was almost at the retirement age, to be honest with you. And yeah, he showed me a few houses, but it ended up I was the one finding the houses to tell him, I found more houses and things like that. We ended up seeing, we found the one I liked. We did well. We got the house and things like that. He negotiated fine for me. So he was actually really good. So the buying process was pretty good in that way. Just I felt we did a lot more work than we needed to, but we found a good place. We loved it. When it came to selling, that was where it was really, really a disaster. The guy that I went back to him again after a year, and I wanted to sell the house and move out here to Saskatchewan. And I called him and he said he was no longer doing it, but he partnered up with another guy that he used as a referral. So I got this guy, and he was, I want to say, almost older than that guy, who was also pretty much ready for retirement. He used to be an agriculture realtor. So he was used to going out to farmers and having coffees and things like that. A slow process, right? Yeah, so I tell a lot of people, Paul, I do tell a lot of people that, interest rates, obviously, they're going to rise. So if you can get approval, honestly, this isn't a pushy way. There's not a salesy way, but just to kind of protect you from the increase. If you can and are able to, now would be the time to do it. And as Robin says, variable rates as well. Fixed rates are good, but I think fixed rates, I believe, are around 2.99 right now. Variables are, I think, like 1, 5, 6. Again, I could be wrong. That's just mine. A bunch of numbers are different, but so that's see things like that Robin can help with, right? If you got questions about it, that's where she helps you with it. And like I said, though, 4%. I got to change my numbers then. Okay. Yeah, see, that's why I have Robin. I'm with the real estate. I'll find houses. I'll sell houses, but when it comes to financing things, I might be a little bit of behind the times. So Robin is always there to back me up. 4%. So yeah, variable rate mortgages are things to think about. And the nice thing is Robin's going to give you those information, right? She'll let you know. So yeah, Robin's going to answer those. She's got all that. She has that all figured out. So, so anyways, I'll get back to discussing that. This home, when I went to sell it, he gave me the purchase or the sale price or whatever, and we agreed to it. I agreed to the commissions, things like that. And so for me, there's a process to selling your home. If you come to me and say, I'm ready to sell my home, I want it up by tomorrow, which is fine. Usually though, most people say, I'm ready to sell my home. Let's get this, let's get it going, let's get it marketable first. So I email out a nice list of things to do to sell your home, make sure the house is decluttered, whatever touches up you want, because I do provide professional photos to make sure your house looks amazing. So no clutter around or whatever. That's what I offer to make sure we're good to go. My guy, we signed the contract and he instantly started taking pictures of the house when I didn't have anything cleaned up because I wasn't ready for that yet, which whatever. So I cleaned it all up after and took my own photos, did them myself. He didn't even offer professional photos or anything. He just took his own photos. And then when he put it up on the listing, it was one picture, just the outside of the house, which I don't know why I didn't have anything in the interior. So I asked him, and he said basically, back in my time, we sold houses out of a newspaper with one picture of the listing. That was it. And this was in 2015, right? Everything's all about the digital age, internet, everything like that. So that didn't really fly with me very well. I said, no, we took pictures, we cleaned the house, we got it decluttered, we fixed we did a lot of renovations to make it look good, and you didn't even take any pictures of that. So I ended up taking pictures of the house myself. I ended up writing up the listing, like not the listing, but the write-up of the listing, because he didn't have anything written up. He just said a house in, I think it was, I can't remember what the area was now, but anyway, or Crestwood area, Medicine Hat. And he's like, yeah, just a house in Crestwood. That was it. So I ended up doing everything, all the work, and still ended up having to pay him, right? So yeah, thanks, Robin. Again, thanks for everything. I know you got to run, so yeah, we'll be in touch soon. But yeah, that was it. So I took a lot of those things and I'm making sure not to replicate it, but it was awful. I don't know how I ended up selling the house the way he did, because we ended up having to do most of the work for it, and I didn't get paid a commission. I ended up selling the house for what I paid for it, because he just honestly wasn't not good at his job. So that's what I'm taking into this. So anyways, again, we're kind of getting to the time here. It's 8:30. Thanks again, everybody. There's still a few people on here, but yeah, I'm going to put it in one more time for everybody in the chat here. All my information, book a call, text me, call me, check out my social media. I'm there. Again, like I said, if you're not ready now, that's okay, right? But if you want to know things for the future, what to work on, let me know. I can help guide you in those areas. And some people may need another month or two. That's fine. We'll be in touch. Absolutely, Paul. I appreciate it. Thanks for the questions. Again, if you did, I'm not sure. I got to look after we're done here, but if you book the call, great. We'll talk then. If not, we'll be in touch, because, I do follow up with everybody to make sure that everybody's taken care of, right? So again, it might be if some people say a rough market, but it's not impossible. We're still showing homes. People are still buying homes. People are still selling homes. It's just the way it is, right? People still need a place to live, and rent's going up. Unfortunately, that's just the nature of this whole thing. So if you can get into something and pay for your own place instead of somebody else's mortgage, it's just that much more beneficial, right? This is a great investment for anybody. It's as long as you're sticking, unless you're flipping it every year, that's a bit different. But if you're living in it for years, it's worth the investment, right? It's some days it's a no-brainer, but it all depends on what you're able to do, right? And that's what we're here for, is to provide that knowledge. So again, thanks everybody. If nobody has any more questions or anything like that, it's 8:30 now. I'm probably gonna jump off then. If anything, again, book a call with me. Here's all my stuff. Yeah, again, appreciate everybody taking the time out of their evening. I hope you guys have a fantastic evening. Go out there and enjoy the rest of it. The weather's getting much nicer, so that's great. We can all get out and walk around and enjoy the sunshine and camping season or whatever it is you guys like to do. And enjoy your weekend. If anything, you might hear from me on the weekend. We'll talk some more. But anyways, thanks again, guys. Appreciate it. You guys enjoy everything, and I'll be out of here. Okay.